So to the highlights of Division 2, and much like both days over the course of the weekend, perfect weather greeted the two teams. Plenty of emotion during the national anthem, and Adam, it was almost majority with East Keilor tipping them for the victory. I think Dave Kennedy was the holdout tipping Roxburgh Park, but we certainly had a clear favourite and a clear underdog coming into this one.
Yeah, right from the very start of the year we expected East Keilor to be contesting on this day. Not quite for Roxburgh Park. It was a bit of a fairy tale run, and we're about to find out if that fairy tale was going to have the happiest of endings. So
Nicole Kondos singing the national anthem at Windy Hill. And don't forget, you can watch the full game at edfl.tv. Let's get into the highlights, and it was a cracking pace right from the very beginning, and Roxburgh Park, of course, burst out of the blocks, kicking the first 3 goals in the space of just 7 minutes. They came to play, and this end-to-end move here, started by Jake Hopkinson, ended in the first goal for Carlos Arden. He didn't kick it particularly well, but it really was a show of what Roxburgh Park could do once they got their runners loose on the outside.
Yeah, very exciting team, Roxburgh Park. We've known that all year, and Carlos Arden, who actually had a really excellent year individually himself, got on the end of this one. Good little 1-2, clever work, and ends up kicking the first goal of the game.
Bit of a wobbler, but it was certainly enough to settle the nerves for Roxburgh Park, and you can see what it means there with the celebration as they hit the front. Now, in the absence of Matt Mickelson and Tim Blacker, Adrian McKinnon, normally the centre-half back, he was thrown forward, and again, Roxburgh Park would go end-to-end here on this occasion to kick their second goal of the afternoon. Couldn't take possession there. East Keilor in midfield, Margariti with a good handball, and then inside forward 50, where it's a bit of a scramble, but McKinnon was able to soccer it through from the goal square.
Yeah, like you mentioned, known as a backman, but has played the final series in the forward line. Kicked 4 in the prelim to get into this game, and he ended up kicking 1 there, and as we'll see, he ended up getting a second one not too long later.
So Roxburgh Park flying at this point in the game, and Harley Short converts this set shot, brings it back on the win perfectly. And all of a sudden, it's 3 straight 18 to no score, and Roxburgh Park had come to play. It's probably the start that the neutrals needed just to maybe spot Roxburgh Park a bit of a handicap. It didn't take long for East Keilor to get back in the game.
Yeah, this man here is a class player, Brendan Lucas. Had a really good day in the end. That was his first goal. Ended up kicking another one in the turn.
And Mark Caruso here gets absolutely wiped out by Margariti. And a couple of 50-metre penalties meant that East Keilor were right back in it by the 14-minute mark, down by just 7 points, and both their goals coming from the goal square. That always helps.
As Mark Caruso makes it a formality, kicks the goal.
This kick inside forward 50, well, going up and a good mark is taken, keeps it moving and into the attacking area, and McKinnon comes out, takes the mark, and he would kick a set shot goal to restore Roxburgh Park's lead, but Keilor would finish the better, and it was Lucas once again, just too smart at the fall of the ball.
Yeah, he was obviously really classy on the day. Brendan Lucas, he's a real favourite of David Battistella's, and you could see it there because on grand final days you need match winners, and certainly 2 goals in the opening term really set a tone.
So at the start of the second quarter, Roxburgh Park may have had the lead, but it didn't take long for East Keilor to get it back. In fact, 37 seconds is what it took from the time the ball was bounced to when Brendan Lucas put through another goal. Rizzaballer puts it inside the forward 50 here, and the mark is taken by Lucas. He converts the set shot, and all of a sudden, East Keilor are away. They hit the front, and they largely controlled the term.
Yeah, you're right, Teo. They really started to make their move, I suppose, in the second term. Interesting, we thought Napier Street was a scoring end, but as we can see, it's in the first half especially, a lot was happening at the primary school end, and East Keilor made the most of it.
This is a great passage of play from Andrew Roberto, gets the smother, and then goes and chases down the spill and passes it to Rob Rutley, and he converts from a pretty tight angle. And when you see shots like this go in, you suspect it's going to be your team's day.
Harley Short just handed back. Oh, great smother coming through.
Roxburgh Park would hit back though, and Ismet Akok, who we saw in the link-up for a couple of those first quarter goals, comes through here with a great pack mark, especially for a player his size, and he converts the goal, gets Roxburgh Park back within a point, and that would perhaps typify the way they fought out the afternoon. Now, every time it looked like East Keilor was stretching the elastic, Roxburgh Park would come up with the goal when needed.
Yeah, and he was a live wire, Ismet Akok. Every time Roxy would go in towards their forward half of the ground, he seemed to be around and seemed to be making plays for the Maggies, and as you said, you saw there, he got the job done.
Now, talking about live wires, what about Savdoritis here? That's a great goal, and he really made it happen by kicking the move off and going in and getting the 1-2.
Goal of the day up to that point in the day, and like we said, it was a highly intense second term.
And Carlos Arden shows his flexibility here. Inflexible in that he refused to kick on his left, but he bends it back on his right. And again, that would keep Roxburgh Park right in the match. 7 points down after this goal, and then Manda would kick another one right on half-time to make it just 1 point the difference at the long break.
Yeah, it was certainly game on at that point, Teo. A really enjoyable grand final, but I suppose we're all begging the question at Windy Hill at the time, can Roxy keep up? Because we felt like that East Keilor was going to have a big second half, and Roxy would certainly have to match the challenge.
So to the third quarter, and it was actually a real arm wrestle this term. Very few goals to speak of, and persistence paid here for Roxburgh Park. Tume Hamza, 14 minutes into the quarter, gets a high tackle and kicks a nice set shot goal. That actually puts Roxburgh Park back in front for the first time since quarter time, up by a couple of points at that stage, but East Keilor would hit back and finish the term in front.
Nick Abley kicks this goal here right on the edge of time on in this third quarter, and the margin now 3 points in favour of the Cougars at that point.
So another behind for Roxburgh Park, brought it back to 2 points the margin, but East Keilor would get a key goal here. Rutley pushed in the back according to the umpire. This was quite a contentious free kick at the time, but Rutley didn't care. He went back and just did the right thing by his team, kicked the set shot and restored an 8-point cushion at the last change. And so to the final quarter, Roxburgh Park looking for a lifeline in the game. Dowse here would find Ismet Akok in the forward pocket. It was a pretty tough set shot. Had he kicked it, it would have brought Roxy back within 2 points, but he just put it across the face, and that was perhaps their last hurrah trying to stay in the game.
Really, really tough kick here, Teo. We saw the reserves grand final kick after the sign from a similar spot and the same results, and from there, East Keilor went bang.
So 5 minutes gone in the quarter. East Keilor would go end-to-end. Savdoritis again important in this passage of play, as was Gramscis getting them off half-back, and Rizaballa sending it long inside forward 50, where Nick Abley again would be the key man. And this is a really nice move from him to win the ball as well. Look at that shimmy to shrug the tackle and then steady on his right foot, put it through, and that made it 13 points. And even at just a kick and a bit, it was already looking pretty difficult for Roxy to get back in the game.
And again, little moments like that it just shows the better experience that East Keilor had on the day. Really important in grand finals, and Roxy will take a lot of lessons out of that.
We expected East Keilor to have a bit of centre square dominance, and they got a really easy clearance given the circumstances on that occasion. Roxburgh Park can't get it out of defensive 50 for long. Savdoritis sends it right back in. A little bit of chaos underneath the fall of the ball, and as we see here, it's Napoli getting forward, and he kicks the set shot, holding his nerve with a pressure kick, and that makes it 19. And I think at that stage, East Keilor knew that they had the momentum and they had enough points on the board.
Yeah, this was almost party time now for the Cougars. I really like Jake Napoli, a really good, classy player. I've got a few of those East Keilor, and that goal really set things off, I suppose, as we see here, another clearance for the Cougars.
And you got to wonder, two Roxburgh Park players were actually caught on the attacking side of the centre square here and had to, backtrack 5 metres and go chasing the ball when East Keilor was way.
Here's the kick for goal.
Neville goes all the way, makes the distance.
Mondio caps off what was a good day for him, kicks East Keilor's 13th and final goal of the day, and from that point on it was party time for the Cougars, and they got to enjoy the premiership celebration.
Reynolds stand at the moment. There can't be too much time left. 28 minutes gone.
Inside the final minute.
And it's at half forward for Roxburgh Park. There's the siren. East Keilor, 2014 Division 2 EDFL Premiers. And they win comfortably in the end. They defeat Roxburgh Park 13-8-86. Roxburgh Park 8-5-57. And scenes of jubilation at Windy Hill.
So we're seeing scenes of celebration both at the full-time siren on the podium, singing the song, and just out around on the grounds. East Keilor goes up to Essendon Ford Division 1 next season, Adam. They feel as though they'll be able to recruit maybe 5 or 6 and have a competitive team that can push up and establish itself in the competition. Do you think they need to do more, or have they got the makings of a team that can avoid relegation without too much work next year?
Hillside last year coming up from Division 2 with an inferior team just below par in terms of, I suppose, the mid-range of the table. So if East Keilor can hold on to what they've got, then maybe that's what they should expect, knocking on the door of the finals, but certainly not guaranteed to make it. Obviously, if they want to play finals first up and perhaps do an Airport West when they got promoted, there'll be a little bit of work to do, but for now they've got a good structure and really good bonds now. They're all premiership players. Hopefully they can stay together. They've got a good coach as well.
It's the
What about Roxburgh Park? They have to keep hold of their guns. Matt Mickelson, Tim Blacker, KJ Nana will come back from his injury, which meant he didn't actually play at all. He started the year at Northern Saints and then came back to Roxy once he suffered a bit of an injury. So they've got a full back and 2 gun forwards that can walk into this team. But what about the prying eyes of Premier and Division 1 who might be trying to recruit some of these guys away? They've got to hope that the pain of losing this grand final brings them all back to want to go again next season.
Yeah, we only have to look at what happened to Moonee Valley last year. They were sort of picked out a little bit. They lost a few players, and yeah, that's going to be the big question now. Can Roxy hold on to these guys? Is there enough hope in the club that maybe they can go a step better next year?